And welcome everybody to our content meetup, part of the Media to Movements Coalition. My name is Clyde Tabor here in Southern California with the Visual Story Network. We've been doing these on a quarterly basis, and it's normally Tim Cowley who's been our facilitator. And Tim is here, but Tim is not facilitating. Tim wears a great many hats. And so this is one of the hats he had to just slide off to the side because I'm still a part of the community. I just prefer not to help facilitate. So that's great. We love you, Tim, and I'm grateful. If you're interested in the things that we've done in the past, I'll put a link in the chat. We do post these executive summaries, and this summary includes all of the ones that we've done prior to it. So there's hyperlinks. You can look at that, open a browser window later, but there's what we've done in the past. We are here to bring together creatives to source and produce content for media to movement strategies around the world. So this is a community practice. It's a very relational process. We don't have a formal process. Some of the participants here have been involved in a media to movement strategy for years. Some are still just kind of looking over the fence going, what does that mean? What is that about? If you're completely new and unaware, in short, media to movements is a strategy that's kind of taking off in different parts of the world, helping teams, churches use social media strategies to find people who are seeking online and then bringing them through a process of filtering and then bringing them into connection with people that will help them go and grow in their faith so that they can eventually become multiplying disciples. So it's not just a simple media strategy. We really believe in the value of setting up from the beginning the expectation that our end game is what Jesus said to his people is go and make disciples of all the nations. And we know that that means disciples who make disciples who make disciples. So that's what sets this particular strategy, and it's ever evolving, apart from maybe other just broad social media strategies with clicks and views and likes and such. So anyway, that's Clyde's simple definition. We're honored to have two guests today who are going to be presenting kind of from their vantage point. And so we're going to hear from them and then do some Q&A. But I don't think anybody's new. Cindy, have you been here before in one of these meetings? So would you mind, because if just to say, like, tell us what you can, like, hey, I work with an organization, this is where I am. Just introduce yourself.
Me, I'm actually East Asia representative of Lausanne Arts Network. I actually have a full-time job at Morgan Stanley, but part-time I'm an artist. I use art and storytelling for evangelism. And last year I was, learning how to do animation online. So I just upgraded my storytelling and just like share my artwork and my stories online. So that was like from a content producing point of view. And I'm trying to upgrade my ministry to see how I can be more strategic. And I teach children art and I teach Sunday school. And I'm also a leader in the Marketplace Fellowship, in the Morgan Stanley Fellowship. And I'm hoping to do art meditation and art and trauma healing in the Marketplace.
Okay, thank you for that. And Tom, can you pop no, I have this. This is self-promotional, but the link, I don't know if I have the right link right here. I do have it. I just put the link in there of a course that starts in 2 weeks that you may be interested in that Tom teaches.
That's the foundations link. Is there?
Oh, King, that's right. The wrong one. Can you find it?
I'll find it.
I'll let you work on it.
Or Hannah may have.
Cindy, really great to see you. Andrew, I think you've been here. Scott, have you been here before? I can't recall.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Scott,
follow the emails.
Give us a quick shout out. Just tell us where you are, what org.
Okay, well, I'm an independent screenwriter, producer. I own a film foundation in Hungary, in Eger, Hungary, called the Stars of Eger Film Foundation. And I presented a project to the Parliament in 2013 It's a historic war drama about the siege of Eger in 1552. That's coming along very well. It looks like an A-list production
Feature
company
length?
is about feature length, yeah.
Wow.
And I've got a 12-part limited series that I've been working on for a while. And we've got 4 A-list actors now looking at it. And it looks like it's going to go forward as a $60 million 12-part limited series called The 12 Days of Christmas. And each episode, the kids learn the virtue that's the meaning behind the gift of each of the 12 gifts. So for instance, the first one is 12 drummers drumming, and it's the 12 points of the Apostles' Creed. It's about what we believe. And so the protagonists learn to believe in the first episode. And
okay,
so anyways,
and Chris, do you guys know each other yet? Okay, so anyway, so this is part of the reason we do this. You guys need to swap emails in the chat so you can follow up later. And you're gonna hear more about Chris in a second. Yeah, so, and that's part of the reason we're here, is to bring people like you, Scott, into this other community of people who are around the world trying to use media strategies to help identify seekers. So it's Avin or Avin, or go ahead.
That Eger battle story is a $90 million feature, and it looks like an Academy Award-winning producer is about to move forward with it. So we've been working on that since 2011. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a friend who's coming out with a $25 million film next year on Ronald Reagan. It's just called Reagan. It's a biopic. And it took him about 10 years to raise the money, maybe 15 years to raise the money. Yeah. It was maybe 20 years. As long as I've known Mark, he's been talking about this. Anyway, enough of that. So, and on that note, maybe if you can, Scott, and anybody else, put links to resources that you have that you can share. Just put them in the link, and if you want to say, just put a quick hi in the chat, because we want the chat to be active. So, just introduce yourself. If you've been before, hey, I'm so-and-so with, like Bob's been here before, but I don't know, is it Avin or Avin? Can you unmute? I don't recognize you.
Yeah, it's Avin or Avin. It's either. So yeah, it's fine.
Can you just tell us something about you? Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm from Malaysia originally. I'm based in London, UK at the moment. I work for a Christian charity non-profit called Tear Fund. They are into like humanitarian international relief and development. But I'll be kind of like started to move into another role part-time. It's called Jesus.net. They are like, focusing on digital missions and evangelism. So I'll be doing partnership manager for them for like Southeast Asia. So I think one of the problem I can foresee is like I need a lot of like content. Yeah, there's a lot of Facebook kind of like pages inactive. Like there's a lot of things that can people over that part of the country they like to consume on like Facebook. So just looking for like content ideas and like just connecting basically. So I don't know if this is the right platform, so that I might be talking to like producers, movie stars, and like directors in this platform. I don't know, but my background is digital marketing, and then so I just hope to connect. That's
awesome. That's me. Well, I hope you're in the right place, because this is what, again, we're trying to do, is bring people like you into this larger community that's growing around the world that are using very intentional mostly digital media strategies to identify seeking people online and bringing them through a filtering process. Anyway, that's great. I think I recognize everybody else. Candace, Candace is co-hosting here our community of practice. Candace, tell everybody something about you for the new folks, and then you can introduce our guests.
Yeah, sounds good. My name is Candace, and I lead TWR Motion. And we make animated videos and content for media to movement strategies. And so I shared a little bit more last meeting. So maybe we can link that in, and you guys can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, we have Chris Vilwalk and Chris Casey here. You guys can give a wave. So they're they're working in Europe. They're with the OneKingdom team, and basically are trying to develop media to movement teams in every country in Europe. Chris, one of your, Chris Vilwalk, how many countries are you guys in right now?
We started in Bosnia. We've now launched a Media to Movement core team in 10 different countries, but we want to see a core team in every country, all 44. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so we worked with these guys, just incredible hearts, ready to make Jesus known and connect with seekers. And so wanted to invite them in. They're looking for content creators to come alongside these various teams to help create content for media to movement strategies. So hopefully it'll be really practical today. So yeah, Chris, whichever one, take it away.
Okay, well, it's a blessing and an honor to be on this call with you, to even the fact that you would hear some of what the Lord's doing through us, that is a blessing. So thanks for the opportunity. I'll give a little bit of a snippet. And Clyde, you said about 15-ish something?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's great. You can go a little longer.
Okay, well, I do want to be mindful. I am an American, time-oriented. I lived in Bosnia for 12 years, and we're a bit not time-oriented in Bosnia. So I try to mix both worlds. And anyways, I'll tell a little bit of our story, not the whole thing. I don't know if someone can throw a link to OneKingdom.team, but there is a case study of some of what the Lord has done in and through our team. It's on the front of our website. Candace and her team with TWR Motion are actually the ones that produce that. And it's a really cool blessing that we use quite often. So a little bit of our story is that we're not content creators. We have no idea what we're doing in some ways when it comes to that. We're not professionals, but what we were was sent to the field. And we were sent to make disciples, plant churches. And it took us, I was in Bosnia for 12 years. My brother, Chris Casey, in for a decade. I then relocated to Budapest, Hungary. So yes, Scott, I'm in Hungary. I'm in Budapest. Chris was there for a year, and then he relocated his family back to the States. But we have team now that are in Budapest and Croatia, in Spain, and Cape Cod, and Missouri, that we're working towards our vision of seeing the Great Commission fulfilled in Europe together. And that's a big piece of our heart. But in our first 10 years on the field, we saw very little activity. Me in the North, I saw zero as far as disciples being made. My brother in the South, he saw some activity, and that was super exciting, people coming to Christ. But it was slow going. And that's really the pain point that has really motivated and moved us. We tried all kinds of things, from starting a business or nonprofit or English classes, humanitarian work, flood relief. We translated children's Bible. Chris Casey got the modern translation into the Bosniak language of the Bible.
Hey, Chris, hold on just a second. Tom, do you have any audio suggestions? There's just a little bit of audio. I don't know what it is, Tom. You for Chris's side.
I don't know, Chris. You're in Slovenia right now, right?
Correct.
So it could be just a combination of Bluetooth and internet where Chris is.
All right.
I can understand him. There's a little bit of noise on your. Yeah.
We're using the same Wi-Fi, so I'm going to cut my video, see if that helps.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Chris.
Thank you for and let me know if it keeps cutting out, and maybe I can slow down and then it'll be more clear. So I think the biggest point is we spent the first decade trying to find spiritual seekers, and it was super slow going. And we tried all kinds of things. We heard about Media to Movement as a tool to find spiritual seekers, but not just throw stuff online, but work it offline as quickly as possible, from brothers, sisters in North Africa that kind of led the way on this deal. And so we tried it in Bosnia. We saw more engagement with spiritual seekers in a 20-day period than we did in the first 10 years combined. We got excited about that. We said, hey, let's build systems around this, and then try to give away whatever we've received. And so it started in Bosnia, and then a team reached out of Croatia. Then another team reached out of Serbia. They said, hey, would you come help us? And we started seeing more and more activity. We saw in Serbia, they saw 281 new people in a disciple relationship in the first 9 months of doing this, whereas the year before they saw 4. So we saw it as not only a catalyzing component towards seeking and saving, but we also saw it as a catalyzing component that a few could catalyze the many. So just a few people could band together, understand the system, and then run it for a country, not just my city, but for a country. Because as you all know, you have the system to create one ad in one city, and you can run it across the country. To do that, you need to build coalition so that when someone reaches out, then there's someone to meet with them offline face to face. So there's a whole system involved with it. So as we started learning from that, is my audio okay? Okay, as we started learning from that, we then said, Lord, we heard him keep whispering in our ears, if you know a God who owns a cattle on 1,000 hills, and the only thing hindering you from passing on what you've learned is resources in the form of people or finances, then why would you not start sharing with others? And so that's where we were in just Bosnia in the beginning of 2020. But a year later, we were in 10 different countries. We had launched core teams into 10 different countries. A core team of 2 to 6 people who would then decide to run this strategy for their country. And we're now vision casting into 10 other countries. We were just in Slovenia. Oh, we're still in it today. These last 3 days, we found a team that said, hey, would you come train us? And so we're starting that process of coaching them. It's our first in person. The rest of this happened through COVID. So we're excited about that. Okay, now let me bring it to this call. So the biggest pain point, and remember, we were on the ground. We didn't go to the field for social media. We didn't go to the field running ads. We didn't go to the field for content creation. But we said yes to trying to learn. We just threw our scraps out there, and the Lord decided to do some cool things with it. Praise be to the Lord. Now, in that, we've learned some things, and the biggest pain point for every team that we launch is, number one, finances for running ads. So I'll back up and say one other thing. Through this, of what the Lord's doing, we decided to build like what we're calling a Euro hub, media to movement Euro hub. And so we're a small team trying to catalyze small teams in other countries who then can catalyze other workers, on the ground workers in their countries. So as a hub, we're trying to go, what are the biggest pain points? And can we bring a solution to the table for those teams that are just like us, that are struggling to find spiritually seeking people? And so the biggest pain points are finances. We're trying to raise funds and grants so that teams in other countries can run ads in order to find spiritual seekers. Marketing. Teams don't go to the field for that. So we just launched a marketing team, and we're trying to help teams accelerate them there. The other big component, the number 3, is content. In our time in Bosnia, we ended up creating about 1.5 to 2 years worth of content, and we give it away to teams. We systematize, we can translate it, brand it, give it to teams. They can contextualize it sort of, but it's still super high, top of the funnel. What we're always looking for is, are there other content creators that can come alongside field teams and create content? And so there's a few different ways that you can create content. Of course, you guys know better than me, but we're trying to find how can we bridge the gap between just super high top of the funnel and contextualized to the context where our teams are content. And so just these last few days, we had a professional content creator that's joining our team to help, who came in. He drove up from Croatia and spent 2 days with his equipment, filming testimony, getting audio, drone in the air, doing stuff throughout the city, and outputted a piece of content. And we're going to create a 30-day campaign for this team to launch with, but it's contextualized. And so we're working with him. We're now looking for, we have another brother that's been a part of some of these calls that is stateside. He's a professional content creator, and we're trying to build sort of a content creation team, if you will, that has a bit of the mindset of, hey, maybe we can do it for you, field team, but we want to try to figure out how to do it contextualized way. Maybe we can do it together, like give us input and then we're going to do it for you. Or, hey, you do it and we'll educate you and we'll try to equip you with your, device that we all have on how to do it on the ground. And I'm super excited, Clyde and Tom, to check out your course that you're just now doing. Like, I want to give that to the teams and say, gosh, we can empower teams to do this work. But there are so many that don't have this skill set and they need the body to come around them and say, how can we do this together? Because we can go further together than we can apart. So there's a bit of intro of where we are, some of the pain points that we're trying to overcome as we have connections with many different field teams who need brothers and sisters to come alongside. And we're trying to bridge that gap between the field team, skill sets. How can we bridge that together? Chris Casey, I don't know if you have something to, might upgrade some of what I shared.
No, you did a great job there, brother Chris. It was this last 3 days having Wesley, this guy that's professional content creator, walking alongside two locals here in Slovenia. We've got an idea. It's called I Used to Believe, and it's this campaign that we want to start teams with, 30-day campaign that they can start with, basically touching the pain points of the local people here that will be seeing the social media posts and the Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever. We've got that idea. It's incredible to sit with the local people who love Jesus, have a story to tell, but to get deep into it with them as you're recording them, you're filming their testimonies, but you're also working up on scripts with them and trying to get them to understand, hey, I don't want you to just translate it. We have this thing that's going to spark some ideas, but like, you got it when they start like just shedding tears and they say like this is going to reach my people. And we've hit it every time where there's this emotion that comes out, and it's such a privilege to be able to sit alongside them and do it for them or train them. This time we actually, one of the young ladies, Kaya, she had her phone out, and so anything Wesley was doing, she was doing too. It's a little bit harder. You're doing and training at the same time. But we just literally 2 hours ago got to show them the first video that they're going to put out there, and just to watch the reaction of the Slovenians, understanding that their people are going to see this video that has a call to action at the end of it. Reach out, talk to us. Do you want a Bible? Do you want to talk to somebody? It's like Christmas every day when you get to be on the ground and have people like Wesley, the content creator, use his gifts in a kingdom way to help these people that are desperate to reach their own people. Just to be in their presence, it's just so fun. So I would love to create opportunities for other people like Wesley, to meet other people like Kaya and Rock, to give them a voice to help sow seed on a massive scale in these really hard soil places. And so we're constantly looking for this connection to this connection, and how can we meet them in the middle. And we'll try to do some of the smoothing out in the between, or the connections, or the whatever we can, just to be a conduit. There are, I think, kingdom skill sets that lay dormant. And in my time on the field, we worked with evangelists. We worked with a certain type of people, but with this tool, with this strategy, people that normally sit in the pews or behind the sound booth at a church that have all kinds of amazing skills that God gave them, we're able to tell them, hey, like, you make this video and 1 million people can see it next month. And just to see them light up, it's just such a fun time to be alive in some ways, and also hard. But thanks for listening, guys.
Awesome. Thanks to each of you. This is just open format. Comments, questions, thoughts for Chris, and put them in the chat. And I'll just start with Tim's. Tim wrote, I was in Malawi in August, September, helping train locals in mobile video production with a focus on gospel-based stories in unreached context among the Yao. Really love learning and teaching CapCut, and now use it at home on my mobile phone. It was made by TikTok and is a super powerful mobile phone editor. Game changer for me, and we should all learn it. And he put the link in the chat, so you can pull that up and open it up in a browser window and look at it later. Thanks for that, Tim. I have a question, and I'll keep an eye, and you can help me, Candace. And this is the heart, by the way, to your last thought there, Casey, is we, Clyde and Tim and Candace, this is our heart. Is like, how can we build those bridges and bring people into this larger growing community? How did you guys find Wesley? Like, what's that case study story? How did you intersect with him or her? I don't know if that's a male or female.
A team that we had launched. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. A team that we had launched connected us. That's it. As we launch teams, we're vision casting for multiple things beyond reach your country, but how can you not just receive heavenly, earthly economy, but how can you also give heavenly economy? And so they had mentioned that they knew our heart, what we were trying to do. They heard about Wesley, and then they said, Wesley, you need to get connected with these guys. So it really was just the Lord who connected us. And like 2 weeks later, Wesley actually flew to the media summit that we did. And so he already had a heart. He's already traveling around the world and helping other people and contracted out. And so he just came, and now he's saying, I want to pour more energy into a team like you guys. And that gives me opportunity access to help field teams with their stuff. So that's the short of it.
And what's what are the top 5 criteria for the Wesleys that you're looking for? Like, just off the cuff, like what's the sweet spot? Who's the ideal persona for Wesley?
All right, Chris, you're going to help me with this one, Casey. Why don't you jump in first?
We've used different people. Again, we're pretty scrappy. Like, this is not something that we didn't go to school to do this. It's just honestly pray a lot, and it's the Lord's pretty amazing at I make my plans, he directs my steps. And so it started honestly with a group from a local church that supported us in Omaha, Nebraska. They called me one day, and they said, how can we help? And I said, honestly, we had this idea to do this media stuff, but I have no footage. I don't know how to hold a camera. So he's like, hey, we'll be there next month. Brought 5 guys over. We went all over Bosnia, captured all kinds of B-roll, and it sat there for a year. We had 1.5 terabytes worth of really good footage, sat there for a year. And so he called back the next year and said, okay, hey, what have you done? What can we do? And I was like, well, to be honest, I need more help. And so they jumped back on and came over and helped us just by giving us a boost. So hungry, humble, and smart, super flexible. Okay. Those are some of the things that we're looking for. Could I be as bold to say we don't, I might not know everything, but I know where I can plug you in. And so I don't necessarily need people to come in and tell us what to do. I need people to come in and say, hey, I've got these skills, and where can we plug them in? We guard our teams pretty heavily in that, the locals know better than anybody. The missionaries that are working with those locals are the next. And then anybody else beyond that is way back there, other than the skill set that you bring. Right. So it has to go through those filters for us. We like the top of the funnel stuff, but we want to get this to look and feel local. And so that doesn't necessarily always mean it looks like Hollywood productions or really good stuff. Sometimes it's, shaky camera, because that's what they're watching on YouTube in some of these contexts. And so I think humility and just a willingness to serve the teams and what they need would be something that we value as a team and want to serve these guys.
And so I'm going to assume, in addition, you want people who love the Lord and want his kingdom to come. I mean, that's maybe a given, but I just want to state that. Anything else you would add to that, Chris?
Maybe 2 things. One, we always try to give the teams the banks of how we typically do media to movement content. Once we can give the banks or the framework, then please.
Sorry, what did you mean, banks? I don't know what you mean.
Like maybe the framework
of
how we create
the
content.
borders, the boundaries. Oh, sorry, I didn't follow that.
Yeah. And so once we're able to give that as non-professionals, but we do know a certain way, then we want to say, teach us, upgrade it, but let's make sure we have a same starting place of what kind of content. And the goal is not keeping people online. The goal is get it offline. So you create content differently. So for people that are going to work closely with us on a more regular basis, it's more of what Casey had outlined: faithful, available, teachable, hungry, humble, smart, and then grit, perseverance, and a heart for the kingdom to see the lost one. Now, with Andrew Carty, who's been on this call, he's helping us to figure out how can we also plug in professionals that may be content creators that may have a business. They may have an hour here or there. How can they plug in their skill set? So we are trying to build something with Wesley kind of being this bridge of a meeting place between the field, and Wesley understands us, he understands how to do it, and the States with the group set of people that may say, I have a gift set to give, but a limited amount of time. I can't go to the field or don't want to work with teams, but how can they still? So we're trying to work out a system there that we haven't quite figured out, but we are looking at trying to do that so that no matter where you are, you can give your gift set to kingdom work in our context. Is that muddy the water, or does that bring any clarity?
I just know I want to help, and I know Candace wants to help. If there's any way that we can help, let's throw us in there with you guys.
Yeah,
and you have go ahead, Candace. You have a question.
I literally
too,
was just thinking that, because I'm kind of in that category where I could offer, like an hour or two every so often, or like my own time to like help maybe chop something together, like edit something. So I guess my question is, what are the current projects that you have? Like, what do you need help with right now?
This is where, Kristen, maybe you can help me give a more clear picture. This is, I think, still tip of the spear, trying to figure this out. Trying to figure out how can brothers and sisters that can give a shorter amount of time, that have a desire, but not too sure how. That's really what we're trying to figure out. But having a brother like Andrew or Wesley at the top who can understand the project, understand what components we need within a particular project, and say, put it out there. I need someone that can just edit this video and bring it to completion. Here's the framework. You don't have to understand all the other nuts and bolts. I just need to understand the framework in order to make it happen. That's not built yet, but that's what we're trying to build. And I think that will be a go slow to go fast. Like when we get that, I think it'll really start accelerating a lot. So then we can say, hey, this team has a 30-day, this team has a 30-day. We're trying to go here. Anyone that can fly in, we'll have a process for you. Anyone that has limited time, here's where, when the projects come up, we can connect it. But it's too hard for me as a field worker to arrange all of that. That's been one of the biggest gaps, I think, for a lot of field workers on trying to make that happen. So that's what we're trying to build. If someone's built something like that, we'd love to talk with you.
Yeah, I think part of what we also hit was so we did a media summit where we invited, some of you already know this, that, like 10 of the teams that we coached, they came to Budapest. We did a 2.5, 3-day thing. One of the elements of that summit was to help them with this I used to believe content campaign idea. Like, here's some scripts here. We got lapel mics, and we helped them with the initial idea. I think one of the things that we realized was post-COVID, and I know COVID's still a thing, but post whatever you want to call that, teams, like, they really liked the idea. And then they got back home and realized, man, everything has changed. And we're now having to do everything we did pre-pandemic. All those programs are back online, and they got super busy. And so they said yes. A lot of the teams said yes to wanting to do this 30-day campaign. But I think just we've done some evaluation in the last few months, just realizing these teams even need a little bit even more help than they might have, like during the pandemic, when they had extra time on their hands, honestly. And so that's trying to come up with a system that I used to believe campaign. Really, I think in the next months we could have teams come on board saying, yes, how do we get the footage? Can somebody edit it? And we've already got the script. We've already localized translate it, but also enculturate, put the culture piece on there. And so I think in the near future, we probably could have quite a few teams that would do what we've asked them to do. And then we've got all these pieces that we need somebody to put together, whether that's video editing or maybe even collecting footage if they don't have that in their own context.
Okay, and by the way, I just put a link in the chat about, and you guys, I added the one that was that Tim added, Esther. So I put Esther in there. Hopefully she doesn't mind. This is our effort to curate the groups, individuals who've said, I want to help on the content side. So, and I don't know what you have, Chris and Chris, going in that respect, but this could be a starting place. Like, who do we know expressly have said, hey, yeah, we're content providers or creators, we want to help. And I don't even know if Josh is in there. Is that true? Would you say that's true for you, Hannah, at Ablaze? Because Ablaze is not in there. I mean, are you guys interested? Or are you more on the mobilization side?
Yes, we do mobilization mainly, but we also shoot for organizations.
Okay. So maybe we'll get you guys in there. Anyway, so on that note, Chris, like, we want to help grow that list and figure out solutions to match the need with the opportunity.
May I jump in real quick?
Please.
Chris and Casey, our foundation is located in Eger, which is about an hour bus from Budapest. When we announced the formation of the foundation, we reached about 6 million Hungarians. So we have direct access to media, to news, to magazines, to radio, to newspapers. And I gave you the website earlier, but my partners live in Eger. They have some ability to help you out, probably. We've got connections in the film industry in Budapest. It's a Christian organization, but we don't overtly declare our Christianity because it's meant for mainstream audiences. The films that we're making are meant to go to mainstream audiences. So we try not to, narrow our audience, right? So the film that we're working on is The Siege of Eger, and you'll see that on the site. But every one of those projects belongs to me or the foundation, and we're trying to move those projects forward. But like I said, we have resources in Eger and in Budapest, and Leo is a high-level manager kind of person. He brings corporate businesses into Hungary to develop manufacturing facilities or banks or whatever. So he negotiates with the Hungarian government at very high levels. And so maybe worthwhile kind of jumping on a call with him if possible and make an introduction, or at least via email, and see what you guys can do.
I really appreciate your heart, and I'm really thankful for that, brother. And it's in the end, that's kind of just those initial combos is all we can ask, and then we can share what we're both running at. And if it seems right to partner and to take steps together, yay! And if not, then okay, we'll bless each other. So did you happen to send, I saw your email.
And I saw the Eger film link, but I didn't see Tier Fund link in there, Scott. I was looking too.
Which one?
The Tier Fund. Did you say you had a link for Tier Fund? Because I'm not seeing it in the chat.
No, he's not with Tier Fund.
I did not have the link for Tier Fund.
Oh, okay.
So specifically, who should we reach out to, Scott? Would it be you and then you make a connection, or?
Yeah. It'd be best if, maybe we can just jump on a quick call right after this. And then Leo, I just sent a message to Leo asking him if we could jump on Zoom we usually meet at 11 or 12 Pacific Standard Time, which puts it at 8 or 9 in Budapest time. And so we usually jump on calls at that time. So I just asked him if he could jump on a call this afternoon. Yeah, if we can just jump on, and then I can, we can just chat about what your guys' needs are immediately. And then, Leo, this will be blindsiding him. So we need, I'll prep him. So.
Well, Candace, help me monitor the chat. I'm trying to not miss questions. Here's one from Bob.
Bob. Maybe Chris and Chris can talk to Bob's question.
Once a content package has been produced for a team, would that content be available to other teams who might find it valuable? Chris, you're muted. There you go.
Yep. So, in general, yes, there's a lot in the media to movement community that are trying to figure out a curating system, by where a repository for content that's being put together that we can share. It depends on context and where people are. Like, we have 1.5 to 2 years worth of content. It's not as simple as giving it away, because we don't just create the content. We have a system for translating, for inserting brand, for getting local approval, to figuring out when it's going to be scheduled on Facebook, and then doing all that stuff. So there's a pretty big system that we need to onboard teams with to use our stuff. The other question is are you looking for content like Jesus Film or Lumo that you can just take and use as is? That's curating what's already out there. Or are you looking for stuff that's specific to more your people group? Like, our stuff has skin color that's closer to mine, and so it's more usable in a Europe context. And so, you know, it depends on what context you're in. But in the general, the heart of the media movement community is, if we have it, we'd love to give it away. If you create something that could be used by others, let's be reciprocal. So did I answer that?
Okay, and great response. Bob, do you want to comment?
Yeah, one of the things that I find interesting with teams that we encounter is looking for content that would be someplace, maybe at the beginning of the funnel, maybe a little further down in the funnel. Maybe I'm looking for progression. How can we help teams find content they're looking for that stage of a journey? That's kind of where I'm going with the question, but I understand that obviously context is extremely important. Want to be very sensitive to those kinds of things, but what does a team do if it got some of their own content, but gosh, if we could have something that might be able to prompt or help users find, maybe take a step, and they do that step, what would be the next type of content that would be helpful to them? How could we assist teams in that process is what I was thinking.
That's a great question. Oh, go ahead, Clyde.
Oh, no, you comment, Chris, and I wanted to get Candace to comment. So go you first.
Okay, for our context and what we do is we try to coach teams, not just train teams. We see that one-off trainings. Okay, when we coach, we have 100% implementation rate from not knowing anything about media movement to fully implementing. And then we walk with teams, and as coaches, we're part of that process with them. And so when we launch a team, yeah, we are, and we're trying to build a community around this right here. Hey, we tried this, it didn't work in Poland. Hungary, what did you do? And then, oh, we used this and it was successful. Can you give that to me? Yeah, take it, use it. And here's how. So there's some of it might require some evaluative coaching. Is a team launched and they need some help? Well, the media movement community could help with that. We could come in and coach and evaluate. Is it a team, someone just trying to put some stuff out there on Facebook, but doesn't have much of a plan for offline? Well, we'd want to talk to you about thinking through the whole plan from online to offline. And so there's a few different layers we can poke and engage with there.
Yeah, and to speak to kind of where do you find content? We would really love to, I've been in some conversations where we're hoping to develop some sort of content library that exists that people can search easily to grab stuff for different parts of the journey. So there's been a lot of, like, we haven't made a ton of progress on this. It's kind of a big idea. And so we're trying to figure out what can we do that's just maybe off the shelf initially. And so I know the Media to Movement team has a Trello board that they use that's just really simple. They just provide that to any teams that they're coaching, and it's just like, here's content that we think would work well in this. And it's just very low hanging, like, let's just use what we have. But I mean, it is on our radar. Like, I can speak just from, I'm thinking about it a lot. Like, it keeps coming up in conversations. So I think what you're saying is a huge need. And so I'd love to see that some things come together.
I'll just add, if I may, is that, like people like Josh who posted in the remarks that he just shot a bunch of footage in Asia. Now he's in Western Africa and he's got B-roll. And, of course, there's the public, sites out there if you want to try to find B-roll in particular. But that's not always suited to whatever the local context is. And so, yeah, it's a challenge to build those bridges. Like with Josh's content, I know because Tim and Candace and I know about it. We're trying to let people know, but it's a very informal process as opposed to like, here's the one-stop shopping. Tom and I have been in conversation, probably going back 10 years, like, can we create that one-stop shopping place? And it's just never happened because I think it's just a really complex solution to solve, and then even perhaps more so maintain is probably even a bigger issue.
Right. Well, and I think what Chris is talking about, one of the key things is coaching is super effective. And really, I think every team ought to be encouraged to be in a coaching mentoring relationship, not just learn this and go off and think you know it, because there's so many things changing. There's so many nuances to it, so many things you can learn from other people. And Bob, I don't know, you guys are a really small team. You're still building stuff. And I'm assuming that you don't have long-term coaching with all the people. It's like I teach a bunch of people, but I don't coach them. I try to pass them to people, who are coaches. And I would just encourage everybody, if you're a content person, connect more broadly so that you aren't in your own little silo. Cindy, you just mentioned crafting a bunch of things with your animation, your artwork. That's going to be that could be an amazing tool, right? There's these things that God has put in your heart, this unique voice that you have. I would encourage you to really connect with people in the space who can actually help you with your creation if you're a content creator, so that it's even more strategic. It still reflects what God has put in your heart, but also you can say, so it's not just out there to be picked up randomly. There's actually a thoughtful process behind it. So for me as a filmmaker, I want to be talking with Chris's field teams and his local people when I'm writing my scripts. If I'm going to go off and do that, I don't want to just say, hey, I've got this cool film. It might be really great, but I could tweak it. I could do things, especially short content. I want to be, learning from a content creation standpoint. And so, so Cindy, I think I would love to hear what you're doing. And there's people in Asia who you could connect with and say, hey, I have this stuff that God has given me. How can I connect with you about if I'm going to make animations, how can I make them most strategically? Those kinds of questions. So learning.
And Cindy, I'm just reading, you wrote, I'm trying to reach out to the French, the Italians, and the Chinese using animation videos and artwork. Can anyone help? Like Chris, do can we connect her with, are there teams in France that are doing media to movements or Italy that, at least make the introduction to see if there might be something there, there might not.
I did miss, is there a particular target people group in France that you know about? I know there's some diaspora work going there. I'm not too sure. Chris Casey, I think there might be one team that's trying to reach their city in France that's national speakers, but I don't know of many others that are trying to do media to movement in France. Have I missed that, Chris? Jolie?
Yeah, I would say not yet. They're working on it. There are some diaspora groups, Moroccans, and I forget the other one, but we can try to make some connections. And in Italy, the further west we go in Europe, the slower going we're getting there. So maybe soon.
Well, Cindy, maybe you can connect with Chris and Chris. I think they might be really great resources. Chris and Chris, can one of you or both of you put your emails, is that all right, in the chat? So people could follow up.
I actually know quite a lot of artists and pastors in France and Italy, but I was just thinking, instead of just shooting them my videos in French and Italian, and they say, oh, that's great video, and nothing happens. I was just hoping that something more strategic can happen in France and Italy and maybe China.
There may
also be some stuff. So what Avin is talking about, if Jesus.net does exist in Europe, and they're doing some stuff. They've been very broad kind of web-based things, but there are some people connecting with them doing kind of on the ground follow-up kinds of systems. So that may be a possibility. I can also connect you, Cindy, with my team in Madrid that is a media team called International Media Ministries. And they work with teams kind of broadly in Europe and more national churches, as opposed, not necessarily unreached people groups like immigrants, but national churches in France, Belgium. Like I know a TV network in Belgium, a Christian streaming channel that is looking for content.
And Tom, who took our foundations course from SIL like 3 years ago? Cindy, I'm blanking. She was super passionate. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it.
So we've had like 650 people go through. So that's a big.
I was really good at remembering the first few hundred.
Chris, you look like you got about to say something.
Yeah, if I could say one thing, I don't want to undercut anyone's heart to want to help with like content, but as a field worker, I just want to be mindful to at least put it out there that the best way that you can, if you're the only one doing content to help a field team, the best way is to help them complete the whole thing. If I'm on a field and I just received B-roll and I don't know that much about content, I'm probably not going to do anything with it. I'm going to be overwhelmed and it's not going to be used. And that's what happened to us in Bosnia with the team that came over. And but if we can figure out how can we have a system by which to actually create something that's for their context that then can be used in an actual system, like a marketing plan, then I'm more likely to use it. And, so I just want to put that out there that if there needs to be an in-between between just content itself and it actually being used. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, super helpful. And I'm tracking in the Facebook or in the chat rather. Josh, thanks for posting those links, and Tim for the material that Josh has shot. And then Avon says, thanks, Tim. I'm also working part-time with Jesus.net, focused on digital evangelism in Southeast Asia, hoping to find content creators to manage and optimize Facebook pages, YouTube channels with the aim to follow up with seekers who are interested to know more about Christ. So my first thought on that is Avon, you need to connect with the Chris and Chris equivalent for Southeast Asia, or I don't know, AJ's, what's his area? But do you know AJ, Avon, perchance?
I don't know AJ, but I heard I need to connect with Chris, which is really helpful. And thanks for connecting, Clyde. Yeah.
Yeah, Cindy, for an Asian context, we can connect you with AJ, who's he's a coach in Southeast Asia. He lives in Vietnam, but was in the big country for many years and stuff like that. So has a lot of, he could help you connect with teams who could help develop content in, various Asian language groups. So.
And the same would be true for you, Avon. Tom, can you make that segue? I don't know, Cindy, can you just do that intro, or what's the best way to do that, Tom? I just want to make sure. I love closed loops. I'll have to know when, make sure the connection happens.
Yeah, I can try to do that. If I can get Cindy, you can send me your email address, or
can you just, if you're okay, putting it in the chat?
Yeah, let me put my email address in.
I've already put my email in the chat.
Oh, you did? Okay, so this is me. And then I can connect with AJ.
All right, and we're coming to a close, so I'm going to bring the plane in for the landing. Scott Clark is trying to also find French-focused media to movement projects, but he is based in West Africa. Duly noted. And okay, so Scott's not here. Scott Clark. How do you know? Tim, are you still here? I can't see everybody.
Yeah, Scott, he's based here in Portland, but I know he's working with the Fulani people of West Africa.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just catching up. Okay. Even feeding the baby in the background. Welcome to the world of Zoom. Even we like babies from Tom. I'm sorry, I'm behind on all of this. Okay, here's what I have to do is I'm going to ask you to do this so that you have access to all the resources that are in the chat. Go to the chat window, the bottom right, the 3 dots, and you have to hit the save chat button so that when this meeting ends, it will save, I believe, on your desktop. Otherwise, it goes away. We will post the executive summary within usually 24 to 36 hours that will put a lot of these links in, but not necessarily all of them. So, but that's our effort to kind of capture the best thinking that's been shared here and make it available to a larger audience. here are, I'm just going to dump these in here. I put a link earlier to some of the Media to Movement's on-ramps, which a bunch of links. Here are some others that may or may not be in that list. And then if you've signed up, yeah, you'll get the email that's the reminder of what we've, we've posted, when we've posted the executive summary. I think Hannah, Candace, any final, just from our end, any thoughts, comments just on logistics, then we'll open up to final thought comments to anybody else.
No, nothing from my side. Thanks, Chris and Chris Casey. Appreciate it.
And Hannah, by the way, helps us organize this. Hannah, any just thoughts, comments from you? Hannah, you look frozen. Okay. So then we've got like a minute or two. Anybody? Oh, I sent this as a private message. Thank you, Chris. I'm resending that link. Now it should be available to everybody. Any final thoughts, comments? Otherwise, we'll close in prayer in just a moment. All right, Amos, God bless you for being so faithful. I know you have been in and out of the meeting, and I really appreciate your efforts to come back in. I'm just guessing it's an internet kind of a connectivity thing. Hey, Andrew, can I put you on the spot? Can you just close us out with a short prayer? It's good to see you, brother.
Pleasure. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing together your children to share what you've given to us and spread it across the workers in your harvest field. Mm-hmm. Lord, thank you that we are seeing you make breakthroughs, that you are opening doors that no man can shut, and we can encourage each other. And as we get that, we see others making breakthroughs that will encourage the spirit of prophecy, that we will declare this over our own ministries, and we will see the testimony of Jesus be the spirit of prophecy, and encourage those that have been faithful and in isolation for a long time, that we are not alone, and you are bringing the family together. So thank you for doing what you're about to do, and to allow us to be humble and able to go through any cross-cultural barriers that the enemy tries to put in our way. And thank you that we get to share the good news. In Jesus' name.